Lois Cook. I'm wide receiver, number 18.
I'm Kristen Jones. I'm a right tackle on the offensive line, number 78.
So I'll start with Lois. What inspired you guys to start playing football?
Oh my goodness. So for me, I grew up playing with my brother. So I was the one girl in the neighborhood who was, hanging out with all the boys, and we played everything. We did bike tag, soccer, you name it. But one day we played football, and it was the biggest adrenaline rush for me. It was like a challenge. I was able to push and pull and jump on people and not get in trouble for it. So I had so much fun. The guys were impressed that I was kind of like hanging in there with them. And it was never really a thing that I was the only girl. They just kind of, included me in the group. And so it stuck with me. So when I got to, so how I got into actually playing, I was so obsessed with the sport. I wanted to play in high school. But the coach told me straight up, no, I was not going to be on the roster. He did let me practice with the guys, and I did that for a little bit, but my best friend was a cheerleader at the time. So I was like, you know what, forget this. I'm gonna be a cheerleader too. And then I just became obsessed with the sport from then on. So I carried it around campus when I went to college in Georgia. And the security guard there on campus saw me from time and time again, throwing the ball around campus. And he talked to me, and he ended up being the head coach of the women's team there. So that's how I ended up joining.
Well, I never knew that there was even a possibility for me to play. I never even considered it. My high school actually didn't even have a football team. My college's football team was disassembled midway through my matriculation. So I always just envisioned myself as a spectator. And it wasn't until one of my best friends and sorority sisters was actually asked to try out when she was actually working out at the same field that the DC Divas were practicing. And she was like, I don't want to do it by myself. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I definitely would love to try. I didn't even know that would be a possibility. But I've always been a fan of football. I love the competitiveness. I love the roughness. And I just feel like it's a super intense sport that really requires so much collaboration that it can't be, some teams it's one person that carries the team. You can't have that in football. And I like that about it the most.
So that's actually a good point. That brings me, how important is it to, for everyone to be on the same page to succeed?
That's everything, right? Because, I'm a receiver. So typically I'm lined up next to another receiver. So if I'm running the wrong route, or if I'm running and we don't know what each other are doing, then we might run into each other. We might mess up the play that way. We've got to always be on the same page. The QB has to know what we're doing at all times, right? And if we don't know that the QB is scrambling or in trouble, then, now we can't help the situation. But it's definitely, you have to have that chemistry, the cohesion. You have to be able to work together. It is literally the team sport.
I think for the O-line, that's like one of the most collaborative, units on the field. We have to be able to get off the ball at the same time. You have to be able to know exactly who's blocking who. Some of those, blocks are double teams. And we have to do that in order to make anything happen on the field. So, if we don't all move as one, there might be a hole. We might put the quarterback in danger. We might put our ball handlers in danger. We have to be able to give the quarterback enough time to get the ball to the wide receivers. So, we really have to make sure, because if we're off, most of the time, that means that the entire team is off, right? And the last thing we want is for our QB to get hurt, for any of the ball, the ball hole handlers to be hit. So we definitely at all times have to be working as a unit, communicating, and, just making sure that we're one at all times.
Just to piggyback, that's probably the most important piece to it. This is a collision sport. So we are, everything you're doing, you're 100 yards per hour, like you're 100%, you're all in, you're, and if you don't know what the next person is doing, or if there are some breaks, in communication or breakdown in whatever the play is, somebody could get hurt, and nobody wants that. So you have to be disciplined, and that is the most important thing, is to be able to work together as a unit.
For sure.
What are some of the things you've learned on the field, either practice or whatever, that you could take back to, regular life, if you will, your day jobs?
I would say, as far as, what we were just speaking about, the collaboration, I think that playing football has made me a lot more disciplined and patient, in the corporate field. I have to take into account a lot of people's opinions all the time, whether it be your coaches or your teammates, the other units, the staff. You have to, take into account everybody's feelings. You have to make sure that you're not being offensive, because at the end of the day, we need to work together, right? The only time we all win is if we all win. So I think I've taken that back to my work life, and it's enabled me to be able to, be more understanding of people's natures, and, just how they're likely to communicate with me and how I can react different. And, as rough as football might seem, it requires a lot of delicacy. So.
Yeah, I have to say, like, this is probably my my favorite thing about football, is that there's so much more to football than just football. You're developing yourself as a character. Things like leadership. Like, for me, I've always been a very shy person. Growing up, I didn't like the spotlight. I didn't like to be, in front of, I didn't like attention on me. But as I'm a Christian as well, I'm a captain on the team, and I've been placed in positions or situations where it requires leadership, and I've been able to step up and, develop that kind of a skill. Also confidence, right? Like, just being confident on the field. You have to have confidence. You can't step out there and not know what you're doing, or act like you don't know what you're doing. And I think that translates as well. When you are in the workplace, if you are timid or you're not confident in what you're doing, you're going to get walked over. Or you might not succeed, or you might not be able to accomplish what your goals are. So, and that's another thing, goals, right? When you are playing football, we start out so early. We practice for months and months before the season actually even starts. So we have to set goals for ourselves, whether it's weekly goals, daily goals, or season long goals. But you learn how to make achievable steps towards your goals. You learn how to do those things through playing sports, and football particularly.
Especially as a woman, in not only the corporate field, but on the football field. A lot of times we are underestimated, and we're, pushed to the sides, and our opinions, we have to scream them louder in order for us to be heard above other voices. So, the confidence is definitely something that you need in this field, because if not, they'll kind of swallow you up and spit you out.
Absolutely. I have to throw in one more, because you said that. Yeah. Resiliency, perseverance, all of that translates from the football field. And additionally, as a woman, especially a woman in football, you have to overcome obstacles. You have to overcome challenges. And when you're hit with adversity, you got to be able to pick up and keep it going. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
So what would you say to any young girls who want to, join football and follow your footsteps?
All right, let you take that one, though.
I just, this is my passion. And like I said earlier, I was that little girl who was told no, and I didn't have the vision of a woman on the field to show me that no was not the final stop, that I could still achieve, or I could still aspire to be a football player. And I would say, just go for it. As long as you love what you're doing, as long as you have the interest and it's in your heart to do it, just do it. Doesn't matter what other people around you are saying, because everybody, at the end of the day, everybody's got something to say about whatever it is that you choose to do. So don't let other people's opinions affect your goals and your dreams. And then I would have to say, you got to be calm. It's Cook's 3 C's. All right. Give you Cook's 3 C's. You got to be confident. We just talked about that. You got to be coachable. You can't just go in there and expect to just be who you want to be, do what you want to do. You've got to let the coaches decide. Coaches can see your strengths and your weaknesses, so they'll put you in the best possible position. So you have to be flexible enough to take instruction and apply it. And then the last one is confident, coachable, and you've got to be committed to working hard. You cannot step on the field and expect things to happen. You have to get out there and put in the work every single day, or as much as possible, in order to, be successful at the sport.
For sure. I'll say this. I think it's super important that we show women and young girls that there can be balance, and that you can do all the things that you want to do as well as things that you love. And I think it takes a special kind of woman to be able to play for no compensation, such a brutal sport, sacrifice your body when you still have to go to work and you have to raise your children and you have to tend to your house and your spouse. So I think female athletes really contend with a lot more, and so we really have to start building that type of mentality and that fortitude into young women from early on, because a lot of the time people in their lives are telling them you can't do everything, you can't do that, you can't go to school and have this and go to work, but you can. And just like we multitask on the field and we might have our hands on one person and our eyes on another, we have to do that in our personal lives too, right? I know I have football practice on these nights, right? So that means I have to schedule my other things on other nights. I might have to grocery shop in the morning because I have practice in the afternoon, et cetera. And sometimes, Lois brings her kids, some of our other teammates, they bring their kids to practice and we become aunties, right? We're all watching the kids, right? We do that because we understand that we don't have the luxury of, or some people do, of somebody being at home to watch your children and to keep your house together while you're out chasing your dreams.
I just love everything that you just said.
Yeah, me too.
And the biggest part of it, and it speaks to not only just young girls, but also women in general. It's okay to do both. It's okay. You can. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. You don't have to accept the no. Thank you.
No, that's a good point, because, have you seen more people come out or more popularity through the years of playing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Our opening game this year, the stands were packed. They were standing room only. So that was like, that filled me up, and especially because we were able to win that game. It was like, it was just like an outpouring of love. And it shows a lot more people respect it now. It's not just like a vanity type of sport. They see that we're really in the trenches. We're really digging deep. We're dipping our shoulders. We're hitting hard. And, they appreciate that and they're cheering us on. A lot of the times it's, a lot of people think it's like intramural or something. And I have to explain to them, like, I'm a semi-professional athlete. I take this very seriously. Yes. We're now pro. We're not, yes, we're professional athletes. And so I take it seriously. It's, to me, counts as another job. And I report to it. I do what I need to do to be prepared for it. And I take it, when I get on that field, I know if I take it and go half, I'm going to be wholly hurt. Like I might put somebody else in danger. So I need to take it as serious as possible each and every time, practice included.
Yeah, and in terms of just the growth of the sport, I look at when I first started playing football, and I would be like just out and about talking to people, complete strangers, saying that I play football. Usually the response back then was, "Oh, you mean soccer?" or "Oh, you mean flag football?" And then it turned into, "Oh, you mean lingerie football?"
Yeah.
And it evolved. But today I might see somebody that I don't know and say, "I play football," and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, are you with the DC Divas?" I was at a game last, it's so crazy. And I love that so much. And we are so deserving of the attention that we're receiving. We're starting to receive more and more attention now. And the ladies the women who are out here putting in, like Kristen was saying, we are putting in the blood, the sweat, the tears, and investing our entire lives sometimes into this sport for a minimal return. And it means so much to us when we have positive feedback, we're welcomed when people come to the stand. Like Kristen said, our first 2 games were completely sold out, it's amazing. And to feel that energy, to have people there watching you and knowing that they're there to, maybe they know you, maybe they're family, but maybe they're not. Maybe they just love football. And that means everything, especially as an athlete who's out there putting their product on the field.
And I think women, I think male athletes probably take it, for granted, because the support comes naturally. We went to the first, XFL game out here, 18,000 people in attendance, wearing all of their gear, cheering for them so loudly as if they've been cheering for them their whole lives. It was the first game that team had ever played, in public. And, I think so, like, man, if we've been playing for 20 years, if we can get half of that, like, imagine the impact. But we have to work for it. Like, we have to work for every fan that comes in. We have to work for every piece of publication. We have to work and work and work, and we have to set ourselves apart. And so, like, the same thing, with women in the workplace, etc. A lot of the times we just have to work twice as hard, and we're like, let's do it.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. No, and we do. And I see it as we work 3 times as hard. Once we have to overcome the physical side of it, right? We came into this sport as adults. We didn't have the luxury of having Pop Warner or middle school or high school to bring us into this sport. So we're learning this game. We're already our physical selves where we are. We're training our bodies physically to be an athlete, but also mentally, because we're learning the defensive schemes, offense, what's a pulling guard do? Like all these different things, right? That go into the game that, and we have a short amount of time to learn it all, but we're doing it. So these are mothers and aunts and daughters out here on this football field doing it. We're giving an amazing product the same way that the men are. But obviously we've started a lot later, but we're working twice as hard to get a little bit of the return.
Right.
So
to legitimize ourselves almost. It's like, oh, you play football. That's nice. And you're like,
but we're the real deal. We're the real deal. And I think when people come out and they see us, they see that. And there's, and that when all you got to do is just look, open your eyes, come out and see a game. You'll see we've got the amazing elite plays out here. We've got high flying athletes. We got hard hits, we're out here doing it.
So the last thing I want to ask is about, you have a playoff game this weekend. So is there any rituals or superstitions you have during the playoffs, or is play different in the playoffs, or practicing? How is that?
I may have personal stuff, like I have to wear the same thing. I do have, there's like, I feel funny when I don't have on like the same exact underwear, the same exact socks, like certain things. Honestly, like game day, I have to have things set the way that I'm used to them being set. Otherwise I feel off. And I there's a saying, if you look good, you feel good, you feel good, you do good. And I live by that. Like, so I don't know, I guess that kind of translates. I'll let Kristen jump in if you have personal things, but I was going to say also as a team, the biggest thing for us, I think, in the playoff season and coming into a championship is that we fully teach and implement that we play for the name on the front and not the name on the back. And sometimes in the past, and we'll probably do that, right? And what we'll do is we'll actually tape the names on our backs. We'll tape them so you can't even see who's who. And that just as a statement of that's who we are. We are divas. So it doesn't matter, individually, it's who we are together.
For sure. Like Lois said, I'm a stickler. My bag has already been packed since last week. You know, like I can see it from here because I did the laundry and I said, okay, I need to make sure I have these specific socks. This is just these specific undergarments. I have my jerseys are already, you know, obviously not this one, but you know, like they're both jerseys are in there. My correct pants are in there. All the other things I might need, but you know, before you know, because we were traveling this week, I have to make sure that my bag is packed to the fullest. You know, it has every single thing I think I could need. I pack extra things in case somebody else needs them. I have like 6 pairs of socks, you know, like stuff like that. Like I need that. I need to be able to sit and be alone. I need to take a nap. I need to eat, you know, like there's certain things I need to do. I need to make sure I have like 6 Gatorades in there. I never drink 6 Gatorades. It doesn't matter, just in case. What if that day I'm thirsty and I don't have a Gatorade, then what, you know? So it's like those types of things. I usually keep my own on the sidelines, you know, like I just need to feel like I'm almost like I'm at home, right? I need to make a way feel like at home. And you know, like if you have to wear a different undergarment, I know, you know, I'm like, Lord, the day's going downhill already, you know, like I need everything to be just right so I feel comfortable. So yeah, and I don't know other people, but I never switch cleats during the season. You know, just because I'm like, I don't need my feet feeling different. I need my feet to feel the same the entire time. You know, I just need to feel at home in my own skin. So yeah. Oh, I have to also wear eyeliner.
I mean, me too.
Exactly.
I don't do eyeliner, but my lashes have to be right.
Yes, exactly. It's like I have to wear eyeliner with a little cat. So, you know, I just feel like everybody else has like the blackout underneath. I'm like, okay, is my eyeliner good? Okay, good. But I do that because I think that the most like awesomely feminine thing is like to put all those things aside and like play football, mess somebody up, come off the field, still be yourself. You know, like I feel very fierce, if that makes sense. When I put on my jersey and my uniform and my pads and I hit somebody and I rock them, like I feel like the most feminine then, I think.
Yes.
It's like